Okay, we are back, Twitch. We are back. Okay. Anyway. Okay. So we were here. Suddenly, a bright white light filled the window. It looked like a spotlight. As I approached, I saw shadows of trees, bushes, and other objects on the manicured lawn. The light itself felt like one of those used on escaped prisoners in the movies. It was a bit overkill, but something else was out there, and I couldn't believe it. A man dressed in a raccoon suit. The light highlighted the stains, tears, and haggard look of his bodysuit. The head was worse. One ear dangled. The mouth part was covered in various colors. It looked as if the suit had never been washed, or, for that matter, never taken off. What the hell is this? I said as its head turned towards me. It waved childishly before walking towards the house. I backed away from the window, my mouth agape. I stood in the living room, peering down the hall to the foyer. I saw the ragged ear from the small window over the door. It knocked again, more forcefully. Hello? I know you're in there, a male voice said, trying to sound cartoonish and cute. I'm just a talking raccoon. Would you let me come in so we can have an amazing adventure together? What? I yelled in confusion as he began to scratch lightly on the door. I took a couple of steps into the hallway. Listen, you just need to go away. It's been so long since I had an adventure buddy, he screeched as he continued to scratch. I promise we will have lots of fun together, but you have to let me in. I'm not letting you in. Don't you want to have lots of fun? Hell no! I screamed. TJ said not to let you in. TJ? He said, overemphasizing the name as he began pawing at the window. Me and him go so far back. We used to go on adventures together. Oh boy, they were so much fun. Seriously, go away. Boo! You're making me sad, he replied, sniffing dramatically. I'm just a talking raccoon who wants to go on adventures. And you're just a big meanie genie. Who the fuck says meanie genie? Anyway, I'm done here, I shouted. Go away, I'm not talking anymore. Fine! He yelled back before a heavy thud shook the door, as if he had kicked it in anger. It became silent as the ears slowly retreated. I stood there silently, waiting to see if anything else would happen. But after a few moments, it was eerily quiet. I returned to the living room, my phone on the coffee table. I considered calling 911, but decided to text TJ instead. Perhaps I'd scare him off? Hesitating, I set my phone down. Sitting nervously on the couch, I clenched my jaw, my stomach churned, and my legs jittered. I watched the show, but something gnawed at me. I kept glancing at my phone, torn about calling TJ. Then I heard it. Scratching. I grabbed my phone and looked toward the foyer. The sound wasn't from there. It was coming from elsewhere in the house. My mind raced as I followed the sound down a hallway with 3 doors. The scratching grew more frantic. I passed the first door on the right, gently opening it to reveal a spotless bathroom. The sound didn't originate there. I turned to the left, opening the door slowly as the scratching intensified. The room was dark. I fumbled for the light switch, finding it eventually. The bedroom was immaculate. Stepping back out, I heard a voice. Hello, new friend! I walked over to the door, pushing it open to reveal a dark room with a silhouette in the window. I found the light switch and turned it on. He stood outside, looking at me. But that wasn't what shocked me. Inside the room, crude drawings littered the walls. Finger paints and crayon scribbles showing two figures, one with yellow hair and the other a raccoon standing on two legs. Some showed them holding hands, smiling, or playing childish games. Others, more disturbing, showed the boy frowning and the raccoon crying. See, me and TJ, the two of us go way back, he chatted. We were the best of best friends. Okay. Just like that. Just, okay. Now me and you can be best friends, he added, tapping gently on the window. Now can I please come in? Oh, pretty please. No, TJ said not to. No, TJ said do not let you in. You don't know TJ like I do, he prodded. He used to be such a fun boy, but then he changed. Something happened to him. You're not coming into the house now. Go away! He became a cruel boy, and my adventure buddy became so dark, he continued while waving his hand around the window. You see it here in this room, don't you? I don't care, I insisted as he put down his hand, suddenly becoming silent for a moment. Even with the raccoon head, I could feel his stare boring right through me, leaving my stomach in knots. He will hurt you, like he hurt me, he replied, his voice with a light tremble. But if you let me in, I won't let anyone, especially TJ, hurt my new best friend. Oh, I guess the author was too used to putting, parentheses. No, not parentheses. What is this? Apostrophe? Whatever. Brackets. Dialogue brackets. My mind raced. The absurdity of it all impossible. This had to be some sick joke. And there was only one person who would do something like this. Alright. Cut the crap. I smirked. I'll give it to you. This is probably a funny prank, TJ. This is probably a funny prank, TJ. I'm not TJ. I am Talking Raccoon. Talking raccoons don't exist. You're just a weird prankster in a costume. He stood there, outside in the wind. For a moment, he lifted his fake paw and began rubbing his chin. I could hear him sigh as he conceded, still in his cartoonish voice. All right, you caught me. Good job. You passed the friendship test. I let out a sigh of relief. All right, I'm glad we can end this game. Honestly, it was starting to freak me out. Yeah, sorry. Sometimes I get a little carried away, he chuckled, turning his head toward the front door. I'll see you inside, I guess. Can you take off the suit? I mean, it actually does sort of give me the creeps. What? He replied, turning his head back to me. Take off the head part, at least, I said, as I stepped a little closer to the window. He started to breathe heavily, but stood there without saying a word. I began to feel a little uneasy again, starting to doubt myself. Come on, take it off and you can come inside. But I can't do that. Alright, there's one way to solve this then, I said, thinking of a solution to rest any doubt. I pulled up my phone and called TJ's number. The phone began to ring as we stood in a staring contest. What are you doing? I'm calling you, TJ. No, don't do that. My phone is in the treehouse. What? Hello? I heard TJ's voice over the phone. My eyes widened and I began to panic. Suddenly, the man in the raccoon suit started to scratch at the window menacingly, tearing the screen. You're not the fucking raccoon! I shouted loudly over the phone. What? Of course I'm not. Is he there? Seriously? TJ answered. Yes! He told me he was you! Just stay inside the house. I'm on my way back, TJ replied before hanging up. He noticed that I was no longer on the phone and bolted away from the window as I ran out of the room. I could hear a doorknob rattling from somewhere as I ran back to the voyeur area to see him trying to open it. TJ's on his way! No! He cried, pounding on the door. I feared he might break in and didn't know what he was capable of. Let me in! Where am I? Oh. He'll be home soon! The begging and banging stopped, but the silence was brief. I heard a crash and ran through the house, searching for him. The sounds grew more violent, and I thought he was trying to break in, but I found no sign of him inside the house. Then I heard glass shattering. The raccoon man had a rock and was smashing my car windows! Glass flew everywhere as he swung his furry arm. He stopped, and I felt relieved, until I saw something worse. A small red gas can, labeled with the word lawnmower. He was pouring gasoline inside. No! I shouted as he lit a grill lighter. I darted to the front door, unlocked it, and ran outside. Flames erupted from my car's shattered windows. I stopped as the fire grew, engulfing the interior. Then I heard a door slam. He was inside. Oh, crap! I muttered. I heard tires squealing and saw headlights approaching. I quickly ran out of the way as TJ burst out. Where is he? I think he went inside. TJ stormed towards his house, and I followed meekly. He pushed the door open aggressively. Don't make me do it! He shouted. I lingered in the foyer, still fearful and not knowing what would transpire. TJ, where is he? I yelled as I heard someone running in the living room. I cautiously approached and saw TJ and the raccoon man facing each other. TJ held a broom. Raccoons live outside! Shoo! TJ taunted, swinging the broom wildly. You know, I was fucking thinking, like, when he said he was gonna make the raccoon shoo, I was thinking he was gonna just pull out a fucking giant broom and whack him with it. A loud crack echoed as the broom hit the man. Get out of here now! No, I won! I finally won! The man shouted, blocking his face. I won! You can't sue me anymore! I told you, raccoons live outside! TJ insisted, hitting him again. TJ, I'm calling the cops, I barked, pulling out my phone. But then I saw him dive at TJ, tackling him to the ground. They rolled around, knocking over the coffee table. The raccoon costume's head came off. He looked like TJ, except his hair was long and tangled, with a beard. His skin covered in dried mud and God knows what else, and his eyes wide with frenzy. I won! It's been 5 years, he snarled. He stood up, holding the broken broom handle. Now it's your turn to be the raccoon and live outside. I watched as he shoved the raccoon head onto TJ. I wasn't sure if I should call the cops. I walked outside and looked at my burning car, wondering how I was going to get home. You had one job. This is... Cartman. And this story was by GN0515 _ on r/nosleep, which is the Reddit we're going to be doing today. So, you know what? I love the protagonist in this. It's just so fucking nonchalant. Like, oh, I guess. How the fuck do I get home? I like this. I'm saving that. Okay. Ah. I'm gonna have a sippy of some liquid. Still streaming, right? Yes, I'm still going. Perfect. Okay. Let's see. Wait, what the fuck is this? This is, okay. Let's read, oh, it's very short, okay. This is called The World is About to End Again by The Real Doc Turner. Y'all are going to think I'm crazy, but what makes this time any different from every other time? I've been poor and I've been rich. I've assassinated officials and I've worked in shelters and hospitals. I've been famous and infamous. I've been married to the same woman 763 times over now, and every time I've tried to change things, but now I'm just going to write this. This is how I'll live out the last few weeks this time. I'm finally tired of trying to change things. I've just tried to live my own life this one time. I don't have a Groundhog Day. I've got a groundhog life. Every time I'm born on September 1st, 1980 in Sand Gap, Kentucky. I always die the same day. We all do. I was lucky the first time out of the gate. Jess found me in Louisville. She's the angel that God sent to keep my sanity while I try over and over again to work out a problem that seemingly has no solution. She's the reason I keep going. Maybe someday I'll get to grow old with her. Hopefully someday I'll get it right. I decided this time, towards the end of this life, to just spend it with her at the lake. We've never been able to have kids. She's never wanted to adopt, so it's always just us. I'd never told her how many different times and lives we've had until this one. I told her in January. I told her what's about to happen. I could tell that she was afraid that I was losing my mind. Who isn't nowadays? And it took 2 weeks of me predicting things that came true around the world until she started to believe me. All things considered, she took the news of the end time pretty well. She's sitting outside on the deck right now enjoying the evening while I'm writing this and listening to my Oliver Anthony mix. I think I might just tell her every time from here on out. It felt good to get it off my chest. I had wanted to tell her so many times. Hundreds of lifetimes spent keeping what I know from my lobster. How many times am I going to have to watch that damn show? I told her that I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep trying to prevent it. But this one time, I just want to be with her. Maybe clear my mind. Figured I'd just put this out there, and maybe somebody else might have an idea. Maybe enough people might read this and wake up. I don't know. Division and hate is always more important than helping each other. Cries for war from the rich are always louder than the weak utterances of suffering from the poor. It's like this sickness was coded into the world's DNA from the beginning, and it always manifests itself right about now. And the only thing that destroys that fever is a hot war that kills the host, along with everything on it. Soon, my body will be born again, but the mind will stay. Back to square one. The problem will remain. How do I stop it? I'm the lone voice in the wilderness. Right before Christmas, the skies will fall in nuclear fire again. And those last few moments are always spent asking why, when the answer was always obvious. I'm not quitting. Eventually, I'll find the solution in another lifetime. But this one just belongs to me and her. Jess is calling me now, so I'm going to sign off and enjoy some whiskey and fireflies with my girl. I'm going to be selfish this time. Catch y'all on the next go round. What does this do? So, is this... Oh. Okay. I thought there was gonna be continuation, but okay. Cool. That was a short and sweet one. Not very scary though. Let's see. I want to read this. I want to read the head life story. How long is it? Oh. Okay. I keep having I'm having like mucus drainage going on or something. That was nothing important. Man, this subreddit has been running for 14 years. I mean, that makes about sense, but holy shit, I feel old. I thought I had head lice. Turns out, it was way worse. Itch, itch. Scratch, scratch. Ugh. This itchy scalp is driving me crazy. Keeping me up at night. Can't sleep, and when I do, I wake up scratching. This can't go on. I've always had an itchy scalp. There are special shampoos for that, and I've tried them all. Some work better than others, but they don't make the problem go away. Not entirely. That said, I never dreamed I'd be in this scenario. I was playing piano, working on a difficult performance piece, when the critters first appeared. As usual, my scalp was super itchy. Only this time, when I scratched, something flew out and landed on my lap. I must have jumped a mile high. The thing was hideous, with long, curvy antennas and tiny toes tap, tap, tapping as it crawled across my lap. I squashed it. The thing shrieked as it exploded. Total nasty. Then, trying not to panic, I lowered my head and went to town, shaking and scratching, seeing what else was living in there. Gross! A fleet of crawling critters scooted out from my hair. Ugh, head lice. At my age, must have gotten it from one of my piano students. Totally annoyed, I fled to the drugstore and picked up the appropriate treatment. Then I set about ridding myself of these uninvited guests. The following week was spent trying to kill those little buggers, but they persevered and kept coming back. Sleep was impossible. All I could do was lay in bed and scratch, my fingernails brown and gross from all the scratching. At wit's end, I asked Marley, my BFF, to have a look. She's tough and certainly not the squeamish type. She can't help, I'm screwed. Marley went in for inspection. She gasped and groaned and gagged. 5 minutes later, she's running out the door, eyes wild with accusation. To this day, she won't answer my texts. That's when I knew something was wrong. Terribly wrong. My mind went on overdrive. This is absurd. How bad could it be? Then I heard the tap, tap, tapping of tiny toes, trailblazing across my bedroom floor. I used my phone's flashlight to have a closer look and shuddered. My mind went sideways. I'd never seen anything so repulsive in my life. Critters, but unlike any I'd ever seen. With much effort, I coaxed the Cretaceous-looking creatures into a shoebox. Tap, 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 they went, marching around the box like tiny warriors. Lunch. From a distance, they looked like head lice, but they moved too fast and made too much noise. Totally freaked out, I peeled off my clothes and removed my bed sheets. Laundry time! Ugh, my pillowcases were crawling with them. I shook them off into the shoebox carefully and threw the laundry into the machine. Afterwards, I retreated to my bedroom feeling sickened and sad. Can I not have one good day? Is that too much to ask? Then I glanced at the shoebox. I nearly fainted. A battle of epic proportions. That's the only way to describe it. The critters were fighting each other, crawling and biting and doing God knows what else, but in teams. And they were vicious. I couldn't watch. Itch, itch. Scratch, scratch. My condition was worsening. My scalp and neck were sore with scabs. Over the shoebox I scratched and itched and tossed my hair about. It looked like a Christmas snow globe. Oh my god, that's so... Guys, this is so fucking disgusting. We're snow dances after shaking it. Except this wasn't... yeah, except it wasn't snow. This was some hideous form of head lice. Or so I thought. I went online and... I don't know what's wrong with my English today. I went online and did some research, and it became glaringly obvious I wasn't dealing with head lice. Oh, really? Really? After so many times of you describing them being like, they're like head lice, except they aren't, you're like, oh yeah, I guess they're not head lice. Not even close. Their behavior didn't match. Head lice don't... Okay, this is a simulation of what this guy fucking did to Google it. Lice don't battle each other. Do have lice battle each. What? I don't know, guys. It's not coming up with anything. But I don't know. Fucking hell. I don't know. Nor do they form groups. Plus, these buggers were too big. Ugh. Now what? I fetched my microscope, which I hadn't used in years, and caught one. I put it under the microscope for a closer look and nearly died. My mind was on the brink. This can't be happening. I told myself again and again, this isn't real. But it was. I went online searching for matches. Nothing matched. These cruel-looking critters had fangs and claws and wings. The wings scared me most. If they could fly, then what? For now, at least, they crawled, tap, tap, tapping as they skittered across the shoebox. I crushed it. Then I scooted to the washroom and regurgitated my breakfast. My stomach was turning faster than a laundering machine. After showering, I set off to work, scared and confused. It was a miserable day, let me tell you. As a piano instructor, I sit close to the students. I did my very best at keeping a distance, but there's only one piano, and it's a modest-sized room. Itch, itch. Scratch, scratch. All day I scratched. Careful not to spray critters. Don't fucking describe it as spraying. Spray critters everywhere, but unable to help myself. I was constantly cleaning the gunk from my fingernails, which were brown and gross, and in plain view as I played piano. Finally, my shift ended and I scooted home as fast as possible, hoping to get to the bottom of this. Those little buggers must have come from somewhere, right? When I got home, I gasped. The shoebox had completely transformed. Inside the box was a city. What the fuck is this shit? They must have scoured my bedroom for supplies. But how? Discarded sock, for instance, was torn to shreds and used as grass. Little specks of cotton now covered the entire base of the box. My favorite Pokemon card, which I'd kept since I was a kid, was chewed up and made into tiny houses. Okay, but what was the card? What was the Pokemon? Not the fucking thunder cracking as soon as I asked that! Not only that, they were using my empty earbud container as a swimming pool. Like, where did they get the water? I had to stand back and catch my breath. My heart was threatening to explode. I'm 25, I told myself. Way too young for a heart attack. Then I noticed something deeply disturbing. The shoebox was divided into halves. One side was sophisticated, with houses and a public pool, etc. The other side was filthy and unkempt, with big black mounds, which may have been feces, piled high around the edges of the box. Droplets of blood were splattered across the socky grass, staining it crimson red. I covered the box, then he's like, "Hey, I got a whole ass fucking society in here. Well, time to fucking go on the Google." I covered the box and spent all night on the computer looking for answers. I researched thousands of species of insects, but none fit the description. Not even close. Coffee became my salvation. I was ridiculously tired and should probably be kept under quarantine, but bills are bills. Taxes and taxes. Having no other source of income, I had to work. I knew damn well I shouldn't be out in public, but the last thing I wanted to do was infect anyone. But what choice did I have? This is awful. A battle of epic proportions was taking place on my scalp. And I was the referee. Itch, itch, scratch, scratch. Somehow, I made it through work, itching and scratching, clawing my scalp with tremendous force. When I got home, I went straight to my room. I live in a small one-bedroom apartment, so at least there weren't roommates to contend with. That said, I wish I had someone to confide in. And then again, like what happened last time, I still hadn't heard from Marley. Oh, the conundrum. The shoebox was gone. I scratched my head. This time, out of confusion. I swear I'd left it in the middle of the floor. Panic. First, I checked the closet, searching frantically through wardrobes. Nothing. Then I got on my hands and knees and searched under the bed. Aha! Found it. Sneaky buggers. When I flashed a light, the bugs disappeared, skittering inside their newly developed homes or mounds of poop, depending on what side of the box they were living in. I love how, I love that there's gentrification in this fucking box. The box was buzzy. I couldn't believe my eyes. The sophisticated critters, enjoying a more luxurious lifestyle, had constructed some kind of recreation area using pens and pencils and pieces of scrap paper. Plus, they had condos. I swear to God they did. Ugh, they'd stolen more Pokemon cards. Henceforward, I started referring to them as Mavericks. Inside the shoebox was a war zone. Hundreds of critters were dead. Mostly from the gross side. Apparently the Mavericks had conquered them. But not entirely. The filthies. I was like, this sounds like some fucking... This sounds racist. This feels racist. I mean, okay, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. This feels like an allegory. The filthies, as I've come to call them, were fighting back, making horrible hissing sounds and taking refuge in the mounds of poop. Itch, itch, scratch, scratch. My head was worsening, my neck red with rash. Feverishly, I flung my head over the box and scratched. Ah, sweet relief. When I stood up, I gasped. The entire box was filled with bugs. To them, a tornado must have touched down. Next thing I know, both sides went to work, separating one species from the other, fussing and fighting and squeaking and squalling. Using tweezers, I scooped up a filthy for inspection. Yikes! Unlike the Mavericks, these buggers were fat with crap-like bellies. What the fuck does crap-like mean? What does that mean? What's crap-like? And hundreds of tiny legs, no wings. Their teeth were treacherous, like tiny razor blades. Their eyes were glowing red bulbs. I crushed it. I considered seeing a doctor, but waiting for hours only to be given nice shampoo was not a top priority. So, I shaved my head. Goodbye, golden locks. Hello, sweet relief. For whatever reason, I put my defiled hair into the shoebox. The creatures went on a warpath, gathering the precious cargo, hissing and squawking and fighting. Then I took out the box out back and set it on fire. The sound was horrendous. Why didn't you do that in the first place? The sound was horrendous, like a million tiny souls screaming out at once. The smell was way worse. Completely distraught, I retreated into my bedroom, longing for a good night's rest. Itch, itch, scratch, scratch. Okay, only now, my belly itched. What the? I flashed a light. Those goddamn awful critters. Those god-awful critters were scampering across my abdomen. One poked out of my belly button. I crushed it. Then I turned on the bedside light and screamed. They were everywhere! My entire floor was shimmering like a moving carpet. Ugh, another sleep. Yeah, that's the last... Guess we're not sleeping again tonight, boys. There's fucking bugs everywhere. A week has passed, and I'm at a loss. Ultimately, I did see a doctor and as predicted, after waiting nearly 2 hours, she gave me a special cream and sent me on my way. Itch, itch, scratch, scratch. I do miss my hair, but I don't miss the creepy critters. My scalp is starting to heal, but I can't get the boogers out of my apartment. Every time I kill one, they multiply. Except for now, they're staying. Ugh. Like the shoebox, my bedroom is divided into halves. The battle of epic proportions continues. I can only wonder how long the war will last, and who will be victorious. Every time the filthy seem to be conquered. Like true underdogs, they regroup and retaliate, killing thousands of mavericks. But how? They've discovered fire. Maybe the tea light candles were a bad idea. I pray they don't burn my house down. Then again, maybe, just maybe. What's this? What? I wanna... Oh. Oh, is this just their... Okay. I see. Okay. Alright, so that was... I thought I had lies, turns out it was way worse by Call Me Star. Not, it's not bad. It's not bad. But I feel like I don't, like, where was that going? Like, where was that going? Like, what, you know, I know I'm repeating myself, but where was that going? Very serious. Oh. What? I am not Chris. Oh, there's child abuse in this. Maybe not this one. Maybe not that one. You know, I should have, you know, seen that. Okay, now. Huh! Okay, I gotta read this one. Okay. Oh, this was posted an hour ago. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, it's pretty long. Okay. It's a decent sized story. Alright. This is... I found my... Oh my god. You know, okay. I'm gonna take another drink because clearly I don't know how to fucking talk anymore. Or read. Okay. Alright. Okay. I found out my wife hired a hitman to kill me, so I paid him more. Someone else paid him even more. By 10 Coach. It was late at night, and my wife was asleep. With a small table light on, I sat alone downstairs on my laptop, searching, well, I'll leave that to your imagination. I heard a slight creak from upstairs, but I'm used to those little creaks. This had been my routine for the last several months. Our marriage wasn't always like this, but recently we have been drifting apart. She's become distant, and it's like she's just going through the motions. Sex consists of me lying on top while she stares at the ceiling. We are still a young couple in our early 30s, but unlike our friends who stayed together because they had kids, we enjoy our dinner parties and game nights too much. But now our marriage had become stale, and we were too afraid to be left on the shelf. I finally relieved myself, to put it politely. Like every night before, I went through the ritual of deleting my internet browser history. I had no choice, as my wife often uses my laptop to order stuff. As I went to press delete and cleanse my soul, I noticed a site called Sinister. That's strange. I didn't recall ever visiting that site. I clicked on the link and it took me to a dark web forum page. And there's no way my wife's been on here. She's the definition of vanilla. Against my better judgment, I decided to read this page, and there was a conversation between two usernames. Gus, the name of our cat, and the other, Haystack. I scrolled through the messages, and my eyes widened in shock. My wife had hired a hitman to kill me. I slunk into bed beside her, laid flat on my back, wide awake. Every time she stirred or turned over, I flinched. Should I leave? Should I call the cops? Why does she want me dead? All these thoughts raced through my mind. The next morning, I was shattered. I didn't sleep at all. How could I after finding out my wife hired a hitman to kill me? We have a routine before work where Alice brews coffee while I prepare breakfast. Usually porridge and fruit. Yes, we are one of those health-freak couples. While we eat breakfast, we rarely converse. Over the years, we've slowly run out of things to say. Out of the blue, Alice asked, "What have you got on today?" I stared at her. She never asks me about my day. Why is she asking now? I stayed vague. Just a lot of meetings, Alice continued. Any important? Why is she probing me? Is she looking to inform the hitman to my whereabouts? Brad and I have a meeting with the board over the merger, I replied. Alice quietly left the table. I couldn't concentrate at the board meeting. There's no way my wife, who I exchanged vows with, could have hired a hitman. I was in a nightmare, and I was ready to wake up. And the timescales? The CEO asked. A round table of suits stared at me. I snapped out of my trance. Yes, the timescales are fine, I replied. As I left the board meeting, my business partner Brad caught up to me in the corridor. Brad was a little older and had a speckle of gray in his beard, making him distinguished. Is everything okay? He asked. Sorry, I couldn't sleep last night, I replied. Brad smiled. Go home and get some rest. You need to be at your best tonight. Tonight? I asked. He looked at me funny. Yes, our weekly game night you're hosting. With everything going on, I had totally forgotten. It was getting late at work. Everyone had left the office floor. I sat anxiously in my cubicle, too afraid to go home. What if the hitman was waiting for me to leave? After all, my wife would have likely informed the hitman of where I worked. A cleaning crew entered the office floor. One guy had a skull tattoo on his arm. Is he here to kill me? I told myself to stop being crazy. I had a game night to host. Stop being silly, you idiot. It's game night! Fucking D&D! I entered the office underground parking garage. The lights switched on as I walked to my car. I heard footsteps from behind and turned sharply. A security attendant politely nodded. I took a deep breath. If that was the hitman, I would already be dead. I would have never seen it coming. On my journey home, I kept glancing in my rear view. An SUV was keeping its distance. Up ahead, the stoplight turned red, and I was forced to slow down. The SUV pulled up beside me at the lights. I looked across, but couldn't see anyone through the blacked-out windows. My heart was pounding. The light turned green, and the SUV drove off in another direction. Back at home, we hosted our game night with two other couples. One couple was Alan and Jules, who always told stories of their latest wine tasting weekends. They were incredibly superficial, but that's why we liked them. And then there was Brad and his devoted wife Kara, who weren't drinking tonight. They were going through their third IVF cycle. Okay. My wife chose the adult game Bad Choices, which was ironic. It's designed to find out your darkest secrets. I somehow managed to keep my composure during the game. Everyone enjoyed the questions, giving silly answers. Alice was the life and soul of the party. How can she act so sociable after what she's done? Did I even know her? It was my turn, and I decided this was the perfect opportunity to slip in my own question. Would you ever hire a hitman to kill your significant other? My aim was to get Alice to confess in front of everyone. Yeah, like, that's gonna fucking work, buddy. As I was about to ask my question, Alice stood up and asked, "Would anyone like more wine?" Jules quipped, "Do you have a 1920 bar?" Ellen looked at Alice. "He's such a bitch." Everyone laughed. Alice... Oh, Jules is a boy. Okay. He's such a... Okay. Who knows? I mean... Sorry. Anyway, yeah, there's gay people! Wow! Everyone laughed. Alice went into the kitchen and Brad joined her. "I'll help you pour." A few minutes later, they arrived back and Brad is drinking a glass of wine. Kira looked down and sipped her water. I took a deep sigh and asked a question on the card. "Have you ever looked through your spouse's phone?" Everyone put their hands up. After the couples finally left, I waited for my wife to go to bed. I went back on the dark web forum. I still wasn't convinced my wife ordered the hit. What if it was just a fantasy? That would be disturbing. But at least my life wouldn't be in danger. I scrolled through the rest of the forum and saw dozens of spouses ordering hits. At what point did their love go rotten? I reread my wife's chilling conversation with the hitman. There was no doubt she had ordered my death. It was like I was nothing more than a bug waiting to be zapped. I violently hurled into my waste paper bin. I wiped the vomit from my mouth, then reached for my cell to call the cops. I couldn't make the call. Even though my wife despised me, I couldn't bear for her to spend the rest of her life behind bars. You know, maybe this is just an opportunity, if you thought your wife was gonna kill you, and you guys are having marriage problems, I feel like being like, "Hey, so I think we should start counseling." And just, bring up that conversation and, tell her that you love her a lot. And, tell her that you're gonna work on whatever it is you need to work on in order to make the marriage happy. Because, if she has enough money to fucking order a hitman, you need to ride that train, bitch. You need to ride that train. I don't know where I was going with that tangent, but I'm having fun. There was no... Okay. There must be another way. Maybe I could get the hitman to call it off. I set up a new profile and messaged the hitman asking to meet. I stared at the screen, awaiting a response. I had no idea how long it takes hitmen to reply. A few minutes later, a message appeared from the hitman. "Why?" I quickly typed. "I need you to take special care of my wife." Yes, I know I'm incriminating myself, but it was the only way to get the hitman to agree to meet me. The hitman answered, "Seals tonight." It was now 1 a.m. I snuck out of the house and drove to Seals' bar, which was located by the docks. I glanced out of my window as I passed the dark waters. I arrived and parked close to the entrance, just in case I needed to make a quick getaway. I tentatively entered the dive bar. Every fiber of my being was screaming at me to leave. The bar was nearly empty, with only a handful of unsavory characters hunched over their drinks. They all looked capable of killing a man. One already had. I ordered 2 beers and sat alone at a table near the back of the bar. I took a sip of beer, but my hands were trembling so much I spilt it down my drink. Oh my god, I spilt it down my shirt. What the fuck? I waited for over half an hour. This is batshit crazy, I thought. As I got up to leave, a tall, thin, middle-aged guy with long, greasy hair swiveled the chair in front of me and sat backward on it. His hawk eyes pointed to one of the beers. Mine? I struggled to speak and just nodded. The hitman took a long swig of beer. Are you a cop? He asked. Before I could answer, he sniggered, exposing his rotten meth teeth. Cops don't waste beer. I realized he had been studying my every move since I arrived. An awkward silence. I found a message, I stuttered. Let me guess. You want me to stop the contract, he interrupted. Oh, wait. Oh. Sorry. Let me redo that. I could do that better. An awkward silence. I found a message, I stuttered. Let me guess. You want me to stop the contract, he interrupted. Yes, how did you know? I inquired. That's not how you spell inquired. Gus has the same IP address, he replied. How stupid of me. I should have used a VPN. In my defense, I am running on fumes. I took a deep swallow. It's been a misunderstanding. The hitman casually lit up a cigarette. He seemed so at home, like he's had this exact same encounter before. She's already paid, he said. No, I can pay you more, I blurted out. He leaned in close and spoke in a hushed tone. Money isn't the only reason I'm in this line of work. His words shocked me to my very core. He stood up. I panicked. I can pay you more to kill my wife! I couldn't believe what I had just done. If someone had told me a few days ago that I would order a hit on my wife, I would have had them sectioned. Old school, the hitman wrote a figure on a piece of paper along with his offshore bank account details and slid it across the table. 24 hours, he stated. I watched him leave the bar and flick his cigarette to the ground. That weekend, something odd happened between myself and Alice. We were being nice to each other. It seemed we both felt guilty for hiring a hitman. As we were doing our mundane household chores, Alice suggested, why don't we go out to eat? I was taken aback by her request. We hadn't gone out for dinner in over 6 months. Where? I asked. Donatello's, she replied. I smiled. Our first date. Alice smiled back. I remember. My heart sank. Was this her way of saying goodbye? Or even worse, is she setting up a time and location for the hitman? How could she be so callous as to choose the place where we fell in love? Little does she know. She's the one in danger. I played along. Sounds good. Later that evening, we arrived outside Donatello's in an Uber. Wearing a sports jacket, I opened the door for Alice, who wore a beautiful evening dress. Yes, even though I ordered a hit on my wife, I'm still a gentleman. At dinner in the charming Italian pizzeria, our conversations were stilted. You look tired, Alice said. It's been a long week, I replied. That was the understatement of the decade. As the meal unfolded, we started to chat like old times. I could feel a spark between us. It was most likely the flowing wine, but we always did have chemistry. I could sense she wanted to tell me something. I asked her, it feels like you've been somewhere else? She looked at me, but before she could answer, the waiter arrived with our bill. I paid and left $100 tip. Alice laughed. You always did over 10. That's what I liked about you on our first date. I laughed. Was that all?
Our laughter soon petered out. It was dark outside. We left the restaurant, and our Uber pulled up. From a shadowy alleyway, a tall, thin man wearing a hoodie approached us and reached into his pocket. I panicked. Is the hit on my wife happening right now? I grabbed Alice's arm and yanked her toward the Uber. "What are you doing?" she cried out. Glanced behind the hooded man, checked out his cell, and kept walking. In the back seat of the Uber, Alice stared at me in disbelief. "What the hell is that?" I couldn't answer. My heart was pounding through my chest. We spent the rest of the journey home in silence. A terrifying thought entered my mind. But she was not at all concerned for my safety. Over the next few weeks, nothing happened. My wife spent many nights staying with friends and family. Our relationship was non-existent. Every time she left, I dreaded a knock on the door from the cops informing me that they found her body. What would I say to them? How would I act? I tried acting out the scene in front of the bathroom mirror, but I couldn't look at myself. The guilt and suspense were destroying me. I couldn't eat, sleep, or focus on anything. At work, the merger collapsed, and I was on the verge of losing my job. I couldn't go on living like this, so I messaged the hitman and arranged another meeting. This time, he told me to meet him at the docks. I had no choice but to agree. I needed to put an end to this. I arrived at the docks. It was pitch black except for the moonlight shining off the water. With my cell torch, I walked slowly through the maze of shipping containers. What if the hitman lured me here to kill me? After all, the best way to never get caught is to get rid of any evidence. A gust of wind shot through me. "It's getting choppy out here," the hitman called out. He appeared from behind a container, and we stood face to face. It was different meeting him here as opposed to the bar. Although he was relaxed, there was something threatening about him. "I need you to call off the hit," I said firmly. The hitman smirked. "Even though she wants you dead?" I closed my eyes. The pain too much to bear. Yes. Even though she wants me dead. The hitman sighed. "There's a slight problem. Someone else hit me more." He removed his gun from his holster and aimed it at my chest. He stood there, shell-shocked. "We had a deal." "You were okay when I broke your wife's deal," he clipped. I felt like such a fool. Who in their right mind trusts a hitman off the dark web? I cried out in desperation. I can pay you more!" The hitman lowered his gun slightly. "I'll pay anything!" I pleaded. The hitman placed his gun back into its holster. I thought about running, but I was frozen to the spot. He wrote down a number on a piece of paper and gave it to me. I stared at the ridiculous figure. There is no way on earth I could pay this. The hitman didn't blink. He was deadly serious. 24 hours, he stated. "We'll throw in the guy for free." "No one dies," I exclaimed. The hitman walked away. "What's his name?" I shouted out. The hitman continued to walk away. "Speak to your loving wife." I was left alone and confused with a life and death bill I could not afford. Back at home, I desperately tried to find ways to pay the hitman. My life depended on it. I attempted to take out large loans with several banks, but they refused to lend me the money. Was there anything I could sell? I had a collection of watches, but that wouldn't come close. I even resorted to putting my kidney up for auction on the dark web, but the offers were either too low or too weird. At the same time, my mind was wandering, who is this guy? Who is the guy that paid the hitman more? How is he linked to my wife? I only had one option, and that was to get the guy to call off the hit. But that would mean I would have to speak to my wife. Something I dreaded since that fateful night. A nervous wreck, I sat my wife down on the couch and looked into her eyes. I was about to find out the truth. Why did she order a hitman to kill me? But before I could speak, Alice burst into floods of tears. "I've been seeing someone," she wept. I stared at her in disbelief. Somehow this betrayal felt worse than the hitman. I remained calm. "Who is it?" She wiped away her tears. "Brad."
How long? I asked. A few months, she replied. The affair made perfect sense. It tied in with Alice becoming distant and the cracks appearing between Brad and his wife at the game night. It must have been Brad who took out the hit. My wife would have inquired to the hit. That's not how you spell inquired. The hitman as to why I was still alive. After finding out she's a target by my hands, she had no choice but to fight him, Brad. Or maybe they were in it together from the beginning to get me out of the way. Out of desperation to save his lover, he agreed to pay more. They somehow managed to keep my composure. Alice continued her confession. We met at this shitty bar by the docks. At that exact moment, I realized I had been extorted. My wife never placed a hit on me. She's never even been on the dark web. The hitman was a con artist who witnessed my wife's shady encounter with Brad. By eavesdropping, he gathered enough info to set up a fake hit. He even used our cat's name Gus as my wife's username. The hitman preyed on me, finding out about the affair and the idea that they would conspire to get rid of me. If Alice hadn't mentioned the fact that she met Brad at Seals, I could have ended up losing everything. Alice placed her hand on mine. Can you forgive me? I had a deep pit in my stomach. She may have had an affair, but I hired a hitman to kill her. We'll get through this, I replied. We exchanged a tight hug. Our lives slowly got back to normal. My wife will never know what I did, but I still have to live with it every day. I searched the dark web for him to retrieve the money stolen by the hitman, but his username and messages were deleted. I even ventured back to Seals, but he was long gone. It was like he never existed. I could never go to the cops. I would get a life sentence for what I've done. There's one good thing that the hitman gave us. Our marriage is no longer stale. Alright. Not bad. Not bad at all. Alright. Where am I at? Okay. I am going to... Hold on. I am going to be right back. I am going to go to the bathroom. So I will be back.
one more moment, guys. I'm almost ready. We'll be right back with some spooky shit. Oh wow! I didn't even realize there were people in chat. Hi, I'm back! Nice to see you guys. Hello, Vibes TV official. Hello to Antoria _X. Hello. Out 8888. Hello there. Meister Law X. Can you do Audible? Seems like a talent you have. There was that Dahlia DiPolito who ordered a hit on her husband because she wanted his house. She failed in trying to get him arrested. Alright. Let's see. Where were we? Oh, why do I have... Okay. I need my display capture on. Oh, wait. No, not display capture. Wait. No. Yes? Wait. What the fuck? What? Wait. Oh, there we go. That was weird. That was weird. I wish I could have the chat window open while I do this. Can I just, like... No, I have to... Okay. No. Sorry for not checking chat as much because, obviously. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I was gonna touch up my lips. My lippies. My lipsticks. Oh my god. I look kind of funny. I just gotta spread it around. Wait. This is so vain of me. I'm just like, hold on, guys. Let me fix my makeup while I'm on fucking stream. I'm silly. Okay. Anyway, back to the stories. Let's see. So we read this one. This one was okay. I mean, I feel like they could have developed it a bit more. Like, the relationships between the other characters could have been developed more. But, I mean, I guess it's a shorter story, so they don't have time to develop characters. But, like, I feel like like, the only hint we have that the wife is having an affair is when she goes into the kitchen to get the wine and the guy goes with her. That's it. Like, I feel like we needed more time with these characters in order to be like, oh no, holy shit, I didn't see this. Well, maybe not see it coming, but more just like, because we would have seen it coming if it was like that, but it would have been more developed. I don't know. You guys know what I mean? You know what I mean. I know what I mean. And I know what I mean, so that's the important part here. Is okay. I want to read this one because this one seems funny. Oh wait, there's animal abuse in it. Okay, it'll okay, as long as it's like used properly for the story and not just like, oh, he killed the dog for shock value, because I hate that. Anyway, enough commentary. You guys want to hear stories. This is, my husband keeps calling me Judy, but that's not my name, and I'm afraid for my life. By user Let's Split Up. Warning guys, animal abuse here. Just animal abuse for you guys to know. I'm sitting here trying not to feel foolish. Too scared to leave my bedroom. I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end. Please help. My husband is just outside the door and I'm afraid what he'll do if I... Oh god, that sounds like he's... No, let me explain. Ricky and I... Fuck it! It's like fucking Ricky. Ricky and I were on a hiking trip earlier this week. We were winding along a trail deep in a gorge, and it was just after sunset, so the gorge was dark with shadows. I never saw anything myself, but Ricky swore he spotted a lost child. He went off the path with our dog Gordy. What are these names? I couldn't keep up. Eventually he came back, looking anguished. Gordy had apparently run off, snarling into the darkness, and he worried our pit bull was going to maul some lost kid out there. I don't know what's gotten into him, he said. Gordy is a good dog most of the time, but he can be aggressive with the strangers coming to our home. It wasn't completely outside the realm of possibility for him to bite if he thought we were threatened. Oh, you know, of course they have to use they couldn't use a fucking golden retriever for this shit. Why did it have to be a pit bull? Stop giving pit bulls a bad reputation. They are cute land hippos. Okay. Disclaimer, for everyone here. All animals can be violent. It has nothing to do with breed or anything. If you abuse an animal or teach it to fight, or, encourage that, it's going to be aggressive. It doesn't matter. I mean, sure, there are more breeds that are more prone to aggressive behaviors. But pit bulls are nanny dogs. They're just cute little babies. Anyway, I hate this story already for doing a whole, pit bulls being a bad dog trope. And mauling a kid. Of course it's always pit bulls mauling babies. Shut the fuck up. All dogs can maul babies. God. Sorry, got a little aggressive there. Maybe I'm a pit bull. See, that's a joke because, I just put on a whole rant. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Gordy is a good dog most of the time, but he can be aggressive with strangers coming to our home. It wasn't completely outside the realm of possibility for him to bite if he thought we were threatened, though it seemed odd a child would trigger that response. I pressed my husband for a description of this child, and he admitted he didn't get a good look. But he said he thought the kid was naked, and that he mostly thought it was a child because he heard talking. I suggested he may have heard a baby deer or another animal, and wouldn't that be something Gordy would be more likely to chase? And wouldn't a talking kid, answer our shouts? He agreed. Even so, we searched a while longer before the twilight became too dark and we returned to the cabin where we were staying. The next morning, Gordy was back, scratching at the cabin door. We lost the spark for hiking, so cut our trip short and drove back home. That's when it got all strange. That's when it all got strange. I have insomnia sometimes, so I stay downstairs watching TV while Ricky sleeps upstairs. I was on the sofa, glazed over, watching some late-night show when I heard talking. I assumed it was Ricky, but I couldn't make out any distinct words. I called out and there was no reply. I went back to watching my show, but a while later heard it start again. So I got up and went into the kitchen. There was a child in our kitchen, or at least that was my first impression in the dim lighting, but it wasn't a child, it was Gordy. Our dog was standing on his hind legs and just standing in the middle of the room. Shoelaces, that's a interesting description. Shoelaces of drool dribbling from his jaws, and he was making these grunting sounds. The dog's just like... He stopped the moment I came in, and he was back on all fours again, looking at me. When I told Ricky, he said I must have been saying things. But I'm telling you, the dog was on his hind legs, trying to talk. The next morning, Ricky kept teasing me about Gordy and saying stuff to our dog like, "Hey Gordy, grab me a cup of coffee, would ya?" Or, "Hey, can you answer the phone for me?" And Gordy would just stare at him. That's my impression of Gordy. Oof. Oof, oof. Honestly, a crack of thunder. Gordy would just stare at him. Honestly, he was still acting a little strange, but after Ricky's teasing, I was done worrying about the dog, so I left for work. I was on lunch break when I got the text from Ricky. Heard talking. Thought it was you, but just found Gordy downstairs. Something wrong. He's making weird noises, and think he's got mange? He's losing some skin. On my way to vet. I called, but Ricky never talks on the phone while driving, so it didn't surprise me it went to voicemail. I texted him to call me after he got to the vet. After work, I checked my phone. Ricky hadn't texted. On my drive home, I tried calling multiple times to no answer. Ricky was not home. Most vets closed by 6 p.m., so where was my husband? I checked his location on my phone, and to my surprise, he wasn't far at all, maybe 10 minutes away. So I drove out there. It was on a country road, the route we take to the emergency vet, and at first I didn't see his car anywhere. I finally found it when I noticed some of the grass flattened beside the road and that his car had veered off into a ditch. By now, the sun was setting. I noticed the driver door open and muddy footprints. Ricky's phone was in the passenger seat. I followed the tracks, but they vanished in the grass, and I walked around calling for Ricky, and stopped when I found Gordy. Or rather, what was left of Gordy. I should have taken a picture, but I was so distressed. Why would you want to take a picture? What? Hey guys, look at my dead dog! It was our Gordy, but it was like something had split him in half, like those pig carcasses you see hanging from meat hooks at slaughterhouses. I could count his ribs. I called the cops. They came out and examined the scene of the accident, but after looking at the footprints, concluded it was only Ricky who'd been out here. They seemed to suspect my husband must have done this to Gordy, even though I told them Ricky had been on the way to the vet. I started to tell them about Gordy's weird behavior the night before, but that really made them skeptical. We wanted to go full crime scene and tape off the area and take photos, but apparently that kind of investigation is not done for dead dogs. Okay, so this is already not realistic, because if they saw a dog that was cut in half, they would count that as a fucking crime scene, because they would be like, this shit's deliberate, there's a psycho on the loose. Like, it's a story, it's a story, it's a story. We're locking in, it's a story, it's a story. When I came home, I was exhausted and upset. I saw lights on in the house. Relief washed over me, because that meant Ricky was home. But how did he get home? Did he just left the car and decided to walk? And you're just thinking, well, okay. I've noticed that the protagonists in these stories are either actually, most of them are very nonchalant, and they're not using all their brain cells. They're like, oh, we're in our /nosleep story. We have to, be dumb so the plot continues. No hate to any of these authors, by the way. Legit, I understand, I've wrote crappy, shitty stories before. Not to say that all of these are shitty. I'm seeing, there's things here that can be good. I just want people to be better. Like I'm some fucking authority about that. But when I opened the front door, the first thing I noticed was the dirt track inside. Ricky and I always remove our shoes when entering. Also, I could hear him talking, but it was just like Gordy the other night. Talking, but not talking? These odd syllables, like someone mimicking the act of talking. So, kind of like how, in movies and TV shows, the background actors are talking, but they're not actually talking. They're just... Because, for sound design, they need them to not be talking, so we can actually hear, the main characters talk in these scenes. So they're just... but I guess in this case it'll be like... That's my impression of what this Ricky is doing. These all of this chilled me to the bone as I crept around the corner so I could see him in the den, standing there, unnaturally stiff and straight, sort of swaying. I called, "Honey?" His gibberish immediately ceased. His head turned and, I swear, it was like he reached up and folded his skin over his face, like a sticker that has started to peel at the corner and that he smoothed back into place. I heard him say very clearly this time, "Honey?" I ran upstairs to our bedroom and slammed the door and locked it. I could hear him roaming around outside. Occasionally he called for me. "Honey?" I dropped my phone in the hallway. I was too scared to go and grab it. Instead, I stayed hidden up here, listening to the sound of the TV downstairs. At one point, the news anchor said, "Reports of sunny weather coming up." And I heard Ricky's voice, clear and distinct. "Sunny weather coming up." Then he cleared his throat and called loudly, "Honey! Reports of sunny weather coming up!" Every so often, He came up to try a new phrase on me. The last time he came upstairs, I was sobbing and fell through the door. What about Gordy? What the fuck happened to Gordy? He laughed. A weird, high-pitched laugh that sounded just like a laugh from a woman on TV. Not at all like his normal laugh. And he said, Gordy's fine, honey. Gordy's fine. My name's not Honey, I shouted back. Call me by my name. You know my name is Judy. Open the door, Judy, honey, he said. Judy, open the door. Veronica, open the door, please. Veronica, open the door. Veronica, sorry. Theater kid moment. But my name's not Judy either. It's Claire. Judy is his mother's name. Whatever is down there wearing my husband's face, it's far too clever, the way it tried to quickly reassure me. And I know I have to call the police and tell them something's wrong, and that if they interview him, they'll see he won't be able to answer correctly. They'll realize something's right. I finally managed to creep out and grab my phone and sneak back in while he was still watching television. But now I'm terrified because right after I scurried back in and locked the door, he came up. He must have heard me, and he knocked. And I'm so chilled. I'm not sure if I can convince people of the danger now, because this last time, after he so very politely knocked, he said, Honey? He said it smugly, confidently. Honey, open up. Everything's fine. Claire, honey, open the door. Claire. What is with these... Oh. Wow. Oh. Narration policy. Oh. Okay. Oh. Okay. Well. Cool. Oh, I wanna go. Oh, come on. Oh, shit. Oh, wait. I was on the wrong page. Haha, just kidding. Hey. They call me Hell. They call me Stacy. They call me Hurt. They call me Jane. That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my name. So they basically had the dog get ripped apart for no fucking reason because, they didn't even find the kid. Like, okay. Interesting. I mean, not bad, but, you know, could be better. Could be better. Okay, I'm kind of interested in looking at this one, but then, I don't know. The werewolf of the Amazon rainforest? What? What? Okay. That's a series. I don't want to read a series. Well, not yet. I mean, if I do another Spooky Saturday, which I might because I'm having fun, we can do... I'm gonna... No, wait, this is new, so I don't want to, like... I don't want to read, like, new series. Let's see... Okay. let's read this. Let's read this one. Okay. How long have I been streaming? Okay. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I was checking. Oh, I have almost been streaming for 2 hours. I think I'm gonna read like at least maybe 1 or 2 stories. And then, yeah, I mean, I'm having a great time just chilling with you guys. Oh, someone snapped me. I hate Snapchat because it's like I'm trying to take a picture while looking into the camera, right? But as soon as I snap the picture, it's like it captures it like when I'm like looking down slightly, and it's just like my eyes weren't looking there before. There we go. My makeup looks kind of weird, but it's a whatever. It's a whatever. It's a whatever. Okay. Locking in with the thunder. This story is called I Live in a Town That Doesn't Let Anyone Leave by Ruse85. Listen closely, because this isn't a story. It's a warning. There's a place, a town, not on any map, tucked away in a corner of the world, so secret it barely exists. No one talks about it. Maybe they've forgotten. Maybe they've learned to forget. But it's real, and if you find it, you'll never be able to leave. I escaped once, but it's only a matter of time before they find me again. I don't have long, so listen carefully. The town didn't look unusual at first. If anything, it was painfully ordinary. Rows of houses with neat lawns, crooked lampposts lining empty streets, a town square with a statue of a man no one could name. At a glance, it could have been anywhere, the kind of place you pass through without a second thought. But the moment I stepped into it, I felt something was wrong. Something thick in the air, like static before a storm. No one spoke about it, but we all felt it. The silent law. What was that voice crack? Sorry. My voice is like, oh, this is what happens when you talk straight for 2 hours. You could hear it in the footsteps that never strayed from the path, and see it in the faces that never turned toward the clock tower. The law was never written down, never spoken aloud, but everyone knew it. You didn't question the town, you didn't step out of line, and you never tried to leave. At first, I did what everyone else did. I followed the rules. Nobody knew what the rules were. The only time we knew for sure was when someone broke them. I lived quietly, kept my head down, and went about my day like nothing was wrong. But the town felt like a trap, like the air was watching me, waiting for me to make a mistake. Every time someone broke the law, and it was always something small, something barely noticeable and mundane, they disappeared. I remember the first time I saw it happen. A man I didn't know, even though we lived beside each other for years, took the wrong step. He didn't follow the pattern of the street, the long lines on the roads and footpaths that quietly told everyone where to go. The next morning, his body was hanging in the town square, twisted, broken, like some kind of macabre display. No one looked. No one acknowledged it. The townspeople walked around him like he wasn't there, like it was normal. I started to wonder who was watching. Who enforced the rules? There were no police, only strange men in white suits who patrolled the streets. It made you paranoid, made you question every step, every word. You couldn't trust anyone, not even yourself. On the edge of the town, there was a dirt path. Sorry. You know, you get into the zone and then your mouth just doesn't catch up with your brain and your eyes and... Yeah. I'm trying my best. On the edge of the town, there was a dirt path that everyone ignored. It was there, plain as day, but no one spoke of it and no one dared follow it. They knew better. I should have known better. I couldn't help myself. The curiosity gnawed at me until I couldn't ignore it anymore. One night, when the streets were dark and the town was asleep, I decided to follow it. The path twisted and turned, snaking away from the town, but no matter how far I walked, I always found myself moving closer to the town. The further I went, the more I felt the town pulling me back, like a black hole dragging me toward its center. The road kept bending in on itself, leading me in circles until finally I ended up right where I started. That's when I knew there was no leaving. The town was alive and it didn't want me to go. The next day, someone else vanished. A woman this time. She'd broken another rule, whispered something forbidden and something about leaving, and by morning she was gone. But this time, there was no trace of a body, just her empty house as if she'd never existed at all. The town knew I was defying it. I could feel it watching me. The more I tried to understand it, the more desperate I was to escape. One night I saw something that no one should have seen. The clock tower. Its face was always turned away, like it was hiding something. And the townspeople avoided looking at it, as if their lives depended on it. I'd followed that rule too at first, but in my growing madness, I dared to glance at it. That's when I saw the truth. The hands of the clock weren't moving. They hadn't moved in years. The town wasn't... Wait, okay. Okay, time out. Hold on, time out. How would you know it hadn't been moving in years? You just look at the hands, wait, and you see that they're not moving, and you just assume it hasn't been working for years? I mean, like, you could have just looked at it and, oh, it broke because you looked at it. I don't know. Just, sorry, it's just, anyway. I'll leave my final thoughts about the story at the end. Don't worry. You'll hear what I have to say. The hands of the clock weren't moving. They hadn't moved in years. The town wasn't bound by time. It existed in a liminal space. Outside of everything, pulling in those unfortunate enough to stumble upon it. When I first heard the footsteps, I knew then. I wasn't just being watched. They were following me wherever I went. I never saw who made them, but they were always there, just behind me. Just out of sight. Every corner I turned, they were there, waiting. I knew my time was running out, so I decided to run. I took the road again, and this time, I didn't stop. I ran until my lungs burned, until my legs gave out, until the town was a blur behind me. And somehow, against all odds, I broke through. I found myself on the other side of the fog. On a highway, cars rushing past me, like the world hadn't even noticed I was gone. It's a fucking trap. I'm calling it right now. It's a fucking trap. That's when I started writing this. When I started telling my story. I thought if I warned others, if I could just explain what was waiting out there, I would be safe. I tried hiding in the shadows of my newfound freedom. I had nowhere to go, but I thought if I had nowhere to call home, they wouldn't know where to find me. I've been seeing them again, the terrifying shadows that moved and twisted out of the corners of my eye. As the shadows moved closer, the footsteps got louder, and it was only a matter of time before they found me. I don't know how long I was out. Sorry, let me read. I don't know why I emphasized that weird. Let me reread that. I don't know how long I was out. When I woke up, I was strapped to a bed with fluorescent lights burning into my eyes. But I wasn't in a town. I was in a hospital. They told me I'd been there for years. Told me I wasn't well, that I had imagined the town, the laws, the people. They said it was a delusion, a paranoid fantasy my mind had constructed to cope with something I didn't want to remember. But they're wrong. The town was real. It is real. I know it. I felt it. They tried to explain it away. They said the people I saw weren't townsfolk, but other patients. The man who was hanging in the streets had managed to escape his room and hanged himself in the con room. The woman who vanished was old and got moved to a more comfortable place. They told me the clock tower was just the hospital's clock. God, I'm getting a little too into it. I'm adding my own words. They told me that the clock tower was the hospital's old broken clock, stuck at the same time for years. The road I walked was just a hall leading to the hospital's exit. The doctors tried to calm me. They said it's part of my recovery, that my mind is healing, but it's not. They don't understand. They can't. Because the hospital is just another version of the town. The rules are still there, and in the routines they force me to follow, the treatments, the schedules, the silence, it's all the same. It's just wearing a different face. I can hear them again, the footsteps, slow and steady, coming down the street. They're getting closer. I know what's coming next. Good. That's a good story. Short and sweet. I like that. I mean, when you get down to the nitty-gritty, these stories are all really silly, but I like that one. That one was good. I had fun reading that one. Yeah, is it super scary? No. But, I mean, it's not the worst thing I've read. I'm not saying the worst thing I've read today, because I wouldn't say any of these stories are, like, horrendously awful. But I do have to say the one thing I really don't like about the writing on this is, like, so it starts off like, this is a warning, right? And then it's just like, what? So it's like, for one thing, like, how long has this guy been stuck in this town? It just doesn't really say anything about that, because then it's just like one night, and then the next day, and then one night, and then yeah, I don't know. The timeline is a little confusing here, because then you have him get out, right? But then how is he already in the mental hospital? Like, there's like, okay, so like, so the author, not the author, the character in the story gets abducted at some point again, and then okay, now that I'm like actually like going through the timeline, I guess it kind of makes sense, but at the same time I wish there was more of a feel for how long this person's been stuck in this town, because it's just like, well, one day, blah, 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 and then I guess one night I just decided to look at the tower. I don't know. I feel like there could be more world building here. There's potential. I like it. More world building. More of a build up would have been good. Also I need to say, oh, sorry. Okay. All right. What do we think? Autograph. You wanted my autograph? Well, shit. Where's a piece of paper? Where's a piece of paper? I have, hold on. Where's a piece of paper in my drawer of wonders? A blank piece of paper. I have to emphasize because I have some paper in here that has been drawn on before. There. Oh, perfect. A perfect blank piece of paper. Huh. Where's a oh! Where's a pen? This is so stupid. Alright. I've been practicing my signature. You ready? You ready? Boom! Wait, hold on. Wait. Here. Here's your autograph. It's my signature. Okay. Anyway, this is gonna be so funny when like I upload this to YouTube, or if I upload this to YouTube and like there's no comments. It's just like why did they do their signature? What was that for? Okay, all right. Let's see. Let's pick a good last story. Okay, actually, you know what? I do want to read this. Ooh, this one's long. Okay, this is gonna be the last one because this one's a long one. Alright, this is gonna be the last one. Excuse me. Okay, like, the lunch that I had is fighting me right now. Okay. It almost went down the wrong pipe. That's why I was like... Anyway. Enough of my shenanigans. Okay, this story is by Cheesecake0312. And it's called Something Unnatural is Always at the Corner of My Eyes, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Do you ever get the feeling when you're walking home alone after dark that someone is following you, or when you look out through your bedroom door into the dark hallway that someone is out there waiting for you to fall asleep? What if that feeling persisted? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What if you are constantly on alert because a sinister feeling hangs over you like a stormy cloud? I am experiencing something similar, and I have no explanation for it. It's strange, it's creepy, it's ominous. Is it malicious? I can't really tell. I've decided to document it here in hopes of easing my burden just a little bit, even if I don't find anyone who has gone through the same as I am. I've been so lonely and exhausted, and I just want to put it out there in case something happens to me. So, here it goes. It started a year ago, October 6th, 2023. Specifically, on my birthday. Now, I'm not trying to say that my turning 23 has anything to do with that, with what I am experiencing, but it seems like an important detail to mention. I'm also turning... Oh, no, I'm not turning 23. I am 23. My God. Fuck. I'm not a huge birthday person. I prefer small hangouts with friends and family, and I heavily despise the tradition of cake cutting. But the fact that my troubles started on my birthday seems a little hard to ignore. So I will start with that. It was my birthday. I was just completing my shift at my campus library. I had picked up this job earlier that year when I saw the opening. It feels like there's a hair on my lip. No, I'm just crazy. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm just crazy. I had picked up this job earlier that year when I saw the opening. There wasn't much to do for me, given... Okay, this is... I am gonna correct this, because I don't like the way this is worded. There wasn't much for me to do, given that there weren't many students visiting the library, especially at that hour. Oh, but what? Oh, okay. I was gonna say what hour, and this is at 8 p.m. Okay. I usually just kill time catching up on... oh my god. My A game's off, dude. Fuck. I usually just kill time catching up with coursework and assignments. Occasionally I would have a few visitors who would need my service, but it was a good 3 hours for me to have some quiet time for myself. It was 8 p.m. when I packed up my bags, said bye to the head librarian, and left. It is a 10-minute walk to my dorms. There is a convenience store nearby, so the area isn't too desolate, and there are usually always pedestrians around. It's a nice walk. On that day, the walk was the same as usual. Thinking back, I realize how a few things may have been odd that I chalked up to my fatigue, but I do remember feeling a tingling unease in the back of my mind. I remember looking around, fidgeting a bit, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The large blinking lights on top of the shore spelling out its name. The cashier standing there bored and scrolling on her phone. A couple or two standing huddled together, speaking in soft whispers. People walking briskly along the streets, minding their own business. Really, nothing seemed out of place, but the unease continued. It was only when I turned the corner that I realized where the feeling stemmed from. As I turned left, a figure who came into view in my periphery. Quite far away, but my instincts told me I was being followed. My heart had leapt to my mouth at the sight, but I walked a few steps before I stopped. I stood with my back to the wall, looking at the turn I came from. Thinking back, it was probably a stupid idea. If I was really being followed, what was I expecting waiting for my stalker to show up? Anyway, I stood there for a few minutes and I started walking again, and an added urgency to my steps. The rest of the walk, I had the intense feeling I was being followed, but every time I turned back, there was no one. No one who looked like they were following me a second ago, at least. I reached my dorm safely. My friends Jamie and Carla and my roommate Phil were waiting in my room. The cake laid out on a table in the middle. Okay, I just have to say, first it was Claire, and now it's Phil, and now I'm thinking of Modern Family, okay? So I'm just okay. Anyway. Not, Claire from the dog story. Now we're with Phil. Okay. It was a surprise. They had warned me they were going to do it, knowing I just liked celebrating on... Sorry, let me redo that. Sorry. Wow, Zeus is angry. It wasn't a surprise. They had warned me they were going to do it, knowing I disliked celebrating my birthdays, just to soften the blow. I am always baffled by how people insist on getting you a cake and making you sit through the whole ordeal, no matter how much you protest that you do not like it. On that day, however, I was grateful. I was happy to see my friends relieved at the bright lights and the normalcy. For the rest of the night, the unease was pushed off my mind. It was the weekend the next day, and it was the day that the severity of my situation became clear to me. After a quick breakfast, I headed towards the library, not for my shift, but to study for my exams. As soon as I stepped outside my dormitory area, the unease from last night returned, and the fear associated with being followed descended upon me. You know when a character stumbles upon a crucial scene in a movie and the soundtrack pauses? There is silence all around and everything is in slow motion. I could still hear the noises and chatter around me, but it was as if the world had died. The imaginary soundtrack of my life had paused, indicating grave danger that I was in. The camera would move slowly in a circle, then pan at something behind me, where a serial killer or a knife-wielding maniac would show up with a sharp, sudden sound of thunder. It's too much alliteration. My tongue, my mouth's like blah 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 blah. But of course, when I turned back, there was nothing out of the ordinary. I closed my eyes for a few seconds and started walking towards the library. The incident from the night before was easy to ignore. After all, it was night, and even though the most rational of people would feel a little bit spooked when faced with the mystery of the dark, well, now there was no explanation. It was daylight, and the sun was illuminating every bit of surface I could see. There was no reason for me to feel this way. No reason for a potential stalker to follow me with so many witnesses around. I kept my eyes firmly on my feet as I hurried along. The whole time my spine tingled horribly, like there was an ominous being running behind me. Their long, clawed arms reaching out, getting closer. The tips of their sharp nails almost touching the back of my collar. My shoulders cringed in horror and bunched up, and I ran the last few steps and stopped sharply at the door. The clawed hands retracted. They're like shoo, 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 shoo. A figure appeared at the corner of my eyes, and I turned sharply, backing up against the wall of the library. There was no one. Of course there wasn't. But I was so sure there was someone. A human silhouette just at the end of my peripheral vision, vanishing as soon as I looked towards it. I couldn't even dismiss it as the darkness playing tricks on me. I walked into the library and collapsed on one of the tables. What is happening to me? There was no way someone could have followed me like that in broad daylight. And even if they did, how did they vanish just like that? I scrunched up my eyes and tried to think back to the walk. Like this? Scrunching up your eyes? There was no one. I had seen no one. Except at the last moment when I had reached the library. Yet, I had felt it. As clear as day. Someone behind me. Very close, almost touching. And the fear in me was undeniably real. Somehow I pushed the thoughts to the back of my mind and concentrated on my books. Jamie appeared at the library an hour later. He smiled a little when he saw me and joined me at the table. I contemplated telling him about what was happening to me, but there was no way I could explain it without sounding crazy. But the thought of walking back alone terrified me, so I decided to tell him a watered-down version of what had really happened. I think someone is following me. Jamie regarded me for a few seconds. He didn't dismiss me immediately, which I was grateful for. and he looked mildly concerned. Are you sure? I remember coiling back at the thought of him not believing me. He hurried to add, I mean, this is a protected area. If there was a suspicious person around, someone would notice. I know. I felt my voice shaking, just thinking of the tingling feeling on my back, and the intense fear made my heart rate go up. I don't know, I haven't actually seen anyone, but whenever I'm outside, I feel like I'm being followed or watched. I looked carefully at Jamie, ready for him to laugh at me or call me paranoid, but he sat with a frown on his face, tapping his pen on the table. Well, I think you should tell someone. Just report it, just in case. I nodded, though I wasn't sure if I would really tell. What would I even say? The whole idea seemed ridiculous, even to me, and I couldn't imagine explaining it to the authorities. When Jamie was about to leave an hour or so late, my God, it's like for every few paragraphs I get right, there's one part I get wrong. When Jamie was about to leave an hour or so later, I asked him if I could walk to the dorms with him. He was supposed to go to campus, I think, or somewhere else, but he agreed to walk with me all the way to my room. Looking back, I realized how much love and support I'd received from the people around me, without which I wouldn't be sitting here writing my story. I had a mild hope that with my friend next to me, the sense of being followed wouldn't be there. But it was. And it was stronger. As soon as I stepped outside, it hit me like a truck. Jamie frowned at me and then looked around, but there was no one suspicious around, of course. It was all in my head. He held out an arm. If it makes you feel better, you can take my hand. That didn't quite make me feel better, as I felt weighed down by a deep, anxious feeling in my chest, but it did make me laugh. I grabbed his arm and let him pull me along. I stayed inside my room all day. Phil, my roommate, was worried, but since I didn't tell him anything, he assumed I was just unwell. Jamie brought me food and snacks and kept me company. I couldn't realistically spend my days locked inside, but that was all I had for the moment. I wish I could tell you that I was really being stalked by a human predator, and that he was apprehended and that I was safe. But things really only worsened after that. It wasn't just a fear in my head anymore. But every time I went outside, I saw something, a dark figure. A silhouette with barely any facial features, right around the corner of my eyes. It didn't have any movement akin to walking, but when I walked, it seemed to follow me, float towards me. Surprisingly, it never came closer and always remained at a safe distance, always watching. There was one incident that I think is worth mentioning. It was a few months after my birthday, exam season, so there was tension hanging in the air. I had just entered my building, relieved at the safety of the walls and escaped from the ominous figure that followed me. It was more or less a permanent thing now. I didn't just feel it anymore, but I saw it. Every time I stepped out into the streets, and it made my insides crawl. I had started to walk with my head low, eyes sharply on my feet, but it was there, always there, just outside the corner of my eyes. If I turned sharply towards where I had just seen it, it would vanish, but I would see it again. But I would again see it behind me. Of course, it wasn't physically possible for a normal person to move swiftly like that, which meant I could not tell anyone about what I was experiencing without them sending me off to a mental hospital. So I kept it to myself, except occasionally sharing bits and pieces with Jamie when he insisted. I could tell he wanted to help, but there was nothing he could do, so I told him that I was just imagining things, exam pressure and all that. He wasn't too convinced. Anyway, my exam started that day. I almost managed to forget about the figure as I scratched words into my exam paper. Perhaps I got too comfortable, as I have now realized that was one thing from... Sorry. God damn. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip of water because, like, my throat's starting to give up on me. My throat, my mouth. Excuse me. Excuse me. How rude. How rude of me. Also, it's getting hot in my room. I turned my I have a window unit right here next to me. And when I do these streams, I turn it off because, you know, I don't want it being too loud and you just hearing air blow the whole time. So now I'm like all warm. Anyway. As I have now... Okay. Perhaps I got too comfortable, as I have now realized that was one thing my mysterious follower didn't want. About half an hour into the exam, I felt the hair rise on my arms. It was nerves from the exam, of course, I thought to myself. I almost folded myself up on the table. I so close to the paper, or close to my paper, that I couldn't see my surroundings. Please don't, please don't, I kept repeating to myself as I tried to recall a specific trigonomic formula. I squeezed my eyes to limit my vision, hoping it was just a fever. It was just the exam fever. And then I felt it. The tingling, ominous sensation that has been chasing me for the past months began on my lower back and rose slowly as I shivered. I felt my shoulders hunching up, my heartbeat going through the roof. I rubbed the back of my neck as I felt something soft and feathery moving over it. My hair has always been short, but I had recently shaved it fully on the lower side when I had started feeling this exact sensation on my neck. As you can guess, it didn't work. I tried to ignore the horrible feelings and concentrate on my exam, avoiding looking away from my paper as much as I could. At one point, I instinctively looked up towards the large clock on the wall, and that's when I saw it. The same figure I had been seeing, standing right in the middle of the doorway, radiating such pure and ominous evil that I wanted to die right then and there. As before, it vanished as soon as I looked, but reappeared at the back of the class. I must have let out a gasp or something, because Invigilator walked towards me. "Is everything okay?" he asked. I nodded, breathless and tired and wanting to cry, and returned to my exam. I was no longer safe. Not anywhere. It was there with me, no matter where I was. I could no longer enter a building to feel safe. And even in my own room, I saw it standing in a corner. It never moved towards me, nor made any sound, yet it was there, always. I could not rest. I could not breathe normally anymore, as my adrenaline rush was constantly on high. The guy's just like... If I ever dared to get used to its presence, which I assure you isn't easy, nor very common, it vanished and reappeared when I dared again to feel relieved. The exam season ended, and with nothing to distract me anymore, I was vulnerable. I spent a lot of my time in Jamie's room, as he understood I was going through something, even though I didn't tell him. He stopped asking after a while and just let me exist in his presence. I tried to research my condition, looked into countless online forums to see if it had happened to anyone else. No one's account seemed to match my own. Most people claimed to have seen their dead grandmother or uncle who attempted to give them life advice, and the majority of those stories seemed made up, although I admit it is a bit rich coming from me. But being on constant high alert does things to you. I was cranky, irritated all the time, snapped at people for no reason, and the number of things I had thrown desperately at the ground or the wall had been exponentially rising. I pushed people away, and by the time summer break rolled around, I was on talking terms with Jamie, who was finally done with my rude behavior. I was sorry to lose my friendship, but I didn't quite have the energy to feel sad about it. The night before I was to leave for home, I lay in bed, staring straight at the ceiling. The figure stood against the wall at the end of my feet, and the constant, familiar rush of adrenaline flowed through me. I felt no fear, at least what I felt I couldn't be called fear. I was too devoid of emotions to feel anything. My roommate was gone too. He had applied for a new room when I yelled at him once, or maybe 5 or 10 times for being too noisy or for just existing. It was just me and my dark companion. What do you want from me? My voice sounded strange in my ears. I hadn't spoken to anyone in a while. My throat seemed to have forgotten how to utter sounds. My eyes flitted towards the end of my bed, and as expected, the figure was gone. I looked back up at the ceiling, and it reappeared. If you are going to kill me, just do it already. There was no response. It never moved or flickered, just remained still in its position. I tried to sit up, but I could barely raise my fingers. I closed my eyes and started to cry. Sorry. The next day, before I was to leave campus, I found myself knocking on Jamie's door. His roommate was the one who opened it, and the look of disgust on his face would have once hurt me. He said some ugly words to me that I do not remember now, but I'm sure I deserved before Jamie appeared at the door and stopped him. "What do you want, Noah?" I couldn't meet his eyes. I looked at the ground and as I said, "I'm going home today. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for how I treated you. And thank you for everything you have done for me." I turned and walked away. A minute later, Jamie caught up with me and stopped me in my tracks. "Wait, Noah, why do you sound like I'm not going to see you again?" It's just summer break. I'll be back." To my utter surprise, he hugged me. "Well, you better be back. I still have a lot of curse words I want to yell at you." When I reached home, I was met with the shocked looks of my parents and sister. They claimed that I looked skinny and worn out. They gushed over me for about an hour and fed me a huge meal. If I had any minor hope that the figure wouldn't follow me into my own home, I was stupidly and utterly wrong. While I was being hugged by my mother, it stood ominously at the doorway, right behind my father. I finally managed to get to my bedroom. I flopped into bed and fell asleep, hoping that the last few months were just a bad dream. I woke up in the middle of the night, shivering. Next to the bookshelf was a concentrated darkness, emanating an ominous aura. As I moved my eyes towards it, I moved elsewhere. I looked towards that spot again, and it reappeared behind me. I turned my whole body in that direction, and it was behind me again. I kept following it. For an hour or maybe more. Maybe it was just a few minutes. I couldn't tell, but I kept doing it. All the while, my skin crawled, and all the hair on my arms and legs rose. I felt my heartbeat behind my eyes. I was exhausted, fatigued, worn out. I wanted the agony to end. Following it with my eyes wasn't doing anything, but I felt an odd pleasure at returning the favor. According to horror movies, the figure should be moving closer, day by day, or maybe becoming larger, posing a greater danger every passing second, but it never did. It always looked the same and stayed at the farthest possible distance. What did it want from me?
What do you want from me?
I asked in a hoarse whisper as I continued turning around in the middle of my room.
I can't take it. Please stop.
The figure remained as nonchalant as ever, mocking me, waiting for my demise. Once again, I started to cry. Mom and Dad drilled me again the next day, trying to figure out my situation. I was too tired to speak, and their interrogation tired me further. I managed to escape to my sister's room eventually. Naomi was 5 years younger than me. I suppose I wasn't as close to her as most siblings due to our age difference, but I felt comfort as I crawled into her bed and curled up into a ball. She wouldn't interrogate me like my parents did. I felt grateful for that. Naomi is the one person in the world who doesn't take me seriously, so of course, she's the one I completely opened up to. From the day of my birthday up until now, I've told her everything. I teared up a few times while mentioning my friends who had left me, but she listened to me patiently. When I was done, she remained silent. I couldn't tell what she was thinking. Suddenly, she grabbed my arm and looked closely at it. Your hair is all on end, and you're so cold. I nodded. It has been like that constantly. She seemed to hesitate a little. Do you still, I could tell what she wanted to ask. Can you see it? Now? I nodded again. Her eyes went a little. She spoke the next words in a whisper.
You mean it's in the room with us right now?
It's standing next to your closet. She turned sharply towards it, arms curling protectively around herself. Her demeanor was familiar. It was the same that I had been feeling for several months now. Suddenly, I felt bad. Maybe I shouldn't have burdened my sister with this. She looked at me with worry. I don't know what to say. It must have been terrifying for you. That short note of acknowledgement seemed to lift a heavy rock off my chest. Of course, I wasn't cured, and I could still see the silhouette in her room and feel blood rushing through my veins, but I felt lighter. I closed my eyes and hugged a pillow to my chest. A heavy object hit me on the head. Shocked, I looked at Naomi, who held a thick book in her hands. She was glaring at me. Well, now I won't be able to sleep here at night, you absolute tart. I stared at her in shock for a few moments. Then I started to laugh. I don't remember the last time I had laughed like that. And it felt good. I wondered if my charming companion would take it as an offense and do something drastic later to ensure I had no joy left in me. Maybe it wouldn't do anything at all, and I would go crazy simply at the constant anticipation of something horrible happening to me. Maybe that was its plan all along. That was 3 months ago. I was still at home. My parents themselves had insisted I take a few months off. They didn't understand what I was going through, but they felt that I needed a break. God knows what they think is wrong with me, but I'm grateful to be able to stay at my childhood home with the people I love. Jamie has called me a few times to check on me. So has Carla. I keep wanting to say Claire, I'm sorry. So has Carla, but the calls stopped soon enough. Perhaps they were relieved at not having such a black hole of emotions around them. Truthfully, I didn't have it in me to be hurt. My condition hasn't improved, of course. I cannot say it has worsened either. It just is. I wake up in the middle of the night, and for some reason, the act of following the figure around has become a nightly routine. It doesn't bring me relief or validation, but I do it dutifully every single night. I'm currently laying in my bed as I write my account. Tomorrow is my birthday. As I said, I don't take birthdays too seriously, but let's just say surviving this phenomenon for 1 whole year deserves some acknowledgement. The mysterious figure is at my door. My hands are shaking as I am typing this on my phone. My back is against the wall, but I have a feeling there is someone behind me. I have a scarf wrapped around my neck, but the continuous feeling of a clawed hand reaching out to dig its sharp talons to the back of my neck is still there. My legs are folded before me, electricity shooting through them at intervals. My stomach is twisting and my chest is threatening to break open against the continuous rapid beats of my heart. I'm tired. I'm alone. I want this to end. I don't expect you to have any solutions or advice for me. I just want to share what I'm going through and hope that one of you may be kind enough to pray. Whether or not you believe in a God, that I reach into this. Oh! I just looked up at the silhouette and it did not vanish. I moved my eyes around my walls and it followed my gaze all the way. I can't tell if having it in my direct line of vision is worse than having it in my peripheral vision at all times. Oh my God, it's midnight. It's my birthday. Could it be that this new change has occurred exactly because of that? Was I really correct in assuming that it has something to do with my date of birth? The figure has oh my God! Come on, we're almost done. Power through. The figure has the same behavior as usual. It's only the position that has changed. I don't know why, but I feel an odd excitement. Has this really what my life has come to? Feeling thrilled about the supernatural entity that has been haunting me for a year? Regardless, I'm eager to see how this plays out. I will keep you updated, but for now, I need some sleep. Oh, it's already saved.
Alright. Wow.
That was... Let me... that off. That was... Those were some stories from r/nosleep. I had a lot of fun on this stream. My voice is dying actively right now. So, I'm probably gonna go. I'm 99% sure I will re-upload this onto YouTube. I wish I had editing software because I would like to edit, because I know when the stream dies, it starts a new stream when it reconnects. Like when OBS disconnects from the stream, it reconnects and then there's a new video basically. I wish I could stitch the first part of the raccoon story to the next one, but they might just be separate uploads because I'm lazy. I could put them in a playlist together so you guys all can watch it together and have that be the experience. But anyway, I am done streaming for now. I will be back probably next week to read some more spooky stories because I had a lot of fun and I like reading and practicing my voice acting, my narration. Anyway, thanks for stopping in, everyone. Love you guys so much. Thanks for supporting a small Twitch streamer. I'll see you guys next week for another spooky Saturday. Bye!